Hi guys, it's Vicky. Welcome back to another episode of Conversations Around the Table. I'm very excited because we're actually doing our first partner highlight. And we have Yvette Jackson, who's the executive director of Devereux. Welcome.
Hi. Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm very excited because, like I said, this is our first sort of partner highlight. And, being with Ideas Collide, I know how much we obviously focus on our community and partners and very relations. And since joining a year ago, I've heard of Devereux just constantly.
Great. Love it.
Which is a great start.
Yeah, great start. Love it.
So for those who are newly listening to the episode or the podcast, tell us about Devereux in your own words.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Well, first of all, thanks for having us. And yeah, we've had a great partnership with Ideas Collide since we first met, and so it's been fantastic. But a little bit about Devereux. We're a national organization, so we've been around since 1912, but we've been in Arizona since 1967, and we started in Arizona as a school, and then we expanded to residential treatment, to outpatient services, psychiatric outpatient services, primarily for children, and we do foster care, we do autism services, we do respite services for families. So over the years, we've really brought this continuum of services for families and children. We also have a small well, it's actually not that small. We have a foster care program for adults living with serious mental illness as well. So they live in families with other folks. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you get started with Devereux?
I got started a long time ago. I got started back in 1998, actually, and I came in as a foster parent recruiter. So it's always child welfare has always been near and dear to my heart. So I came in recruiting foster families for the organization and began to just progress in my career. I found a place that I just really love. I love the mission. I love how we got started. I love what we do. I love the foundation of our work. And from there, just went into management and got my master's degree in social work. I continued to kind of just build on my own professional development and started to oversee programs and services across the state. Got my doctorate in behavioral health. And when our previous executive director retired, I took the helm.
That's amazing, though. That I know it just sounds like, Randy, you're just like giving like a good brief, but those are pretty big accomplishments, not only for you as personally and professionally, but definitely for the organization too, just to kind of just seeing this growth and this build. What had you had any previous experience within this realm prior to joining?
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of the individuals that work for us, we start off as in direct care. We provided care in some regard. So I used to work with a gang awareness program as like a direct care counselor for youth who were at risk for gang activity, for drug, and alcohol abuse, and worked directly with the Tucson Police Department, with the city of Tucson. And we worked with them every single day over the summer on different breaks. And we did a lot of education with them. And so I did that for a while. I did a lot of parks and recreation work and when I was in college. And so like a lot of individuals that work for us, we have a passion for people. We like to work with people, and we have a heart for, those that need a little help. And I've always just kind of had that since I was a kid. I just have had a heart for people that just need someone to, maybe help them, and maybe I could be that person that gives someone a little bit of hope or a little bit of help or, changes that trajectory in some way. And I think that's what a lot of the people that work for us, they have that passion and that heart and that belief that sometimes people just need one or two or three, or maybe a team of people to just help them find their way. Or they've had a lot of setbacks, that they've experienced. And so I'm privileged to not have a lot of those setbacks. And so I think that, giving it back is it's a great way to spend your career.
Yeah, that is. I know that's one of the wonderful things that I love about any work that's within, services or nonprofit or, anything within those means is everything is so very much mission driven.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the people that you connect with or that work there, surround yourself with, it's great because you know that they wouldn't be there unless they personally felt that same
Absolutely.
Drive and that need as well. And I'm very curious because I have a couple of friends as well who've done the foster parent route.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like in terms of, I know that you were the a coordinator for that. Is that an easy thing to get people to join as a foster parent, or is it pretty difficult?
You know, I've actually been a kinship foster parent myself. And I've dedicated a lot of my career to foster care and finding foster families. It's difficult. It is a lot to ask someone or a family member or a family in general to bring someone unknown into their home, and love them and care for them and, provide for them. Like they are the most special and unique people you'll ever meet, because when you meet them, they make it look easy. But it is really difficult to do that. And to do that once is hard. I've only done it once, and that was with a family member. But to do it over and over and over, there are foster families that have done this hundreds of times, and have really changed the lives of others. So it is really difficult to find people. You have to find people that have the heart, and there's a lot of people that have the heart. There's a lot of people that think about, oh, I think I might want to do it, and then it's about getting them at the exact right time. It has to be that it's the right time for their children. It's the right time in their careers. It's the right time for what's going on, whatever is going on in their family. So for us, we have to constantly be, I used to call it back in the day, like panning for gold. Like you just keep putting it in the water and looking for like that one nugget to come through. That's like, this is the right time for me. And we have to do that constantly over and over and over. And so it is difficult. And there is a deficit in the number of foster families that we need, not only in the state, not only within the organization, but across the country. We have referrals that come in all the time for foster care. We do not have anywhere near the number of foster families we need to be able to support all those kids that need to be in homes.
Yeah, I can't imagine, especially, I've just have heard this, but, obviously that seems to be more difficult to find placement. Not only just finding in general, like the individuals who could be those foster homes, but the placement for the older individuals, it becomes harder because I can only assume people, this is probably either a first step towards adoption or a first step towards them having their own family. So they typically probably want younger kids and to have that. I, as someone who, oversees that, what are some of those conversations like when, you have someone who's interested and then you go, yeah, we have 16-year-old so-and-so. And they're like, actually.
Right. Yeah, I think that our responsibility, and I've learned this really, really early on in our careers, to be completely transparent, from the beginning. We want individuals actually to, self-select out, right? To make those decisions for themselves. Because we don't want to place a child and then someone find out, this is not what I expected. So we're pretty transparent up front, like you were saying, about, what kinds of children are coming into the system. And, I think people have this idea, you all are marketers, right? You want to put like this kid that to recruit that is, they are all cute, but there are, there are behaviors, there's trauma. You can't see that, and so we have to be really transparent about, kids don't come into foster care because nothing has happened to them. Right. And you have to come in with that understanding. And so we do tons of training. They have to go through a lot of training. They have to go through a lot of visits into their home. And every time we're interacting with them, we're communicating about those things. So they're learning and they're understanding what they're getting into. And I think for some, it excites them even more, because there's this opportunity to, they're like, we can do this. We're the perfect people to do this as they learn more. And there are some people, as they learn more, they'll say, yeah, not for me. But foster families select, what age they're looking for. We talk about that. I want under 5. I want teenagers. I want, et cetera. And we go through behaviors with them. We go through different types of experiences that they may have had. And are you comfortable with kids that may have had this kind of, experience or not? So we get a sense before we even start to place what the person sitting in front of us can handle.
Yeah, I'm sure there's tons of research and work and almost homework that goes on both sides. Absolutely. To make sure that and I can't imagine, like I'm thinking too, I think we've all had some kind of experience where I know I went to school with individuals who were either in the foster care system or they were in community homes. And it is tough because it's not something like they share about their struggles. But having been in this for so many years, what would you say have been some of the biggest challenges that you feel as a person or professional that you've witnessed or that you've had to deal with? I'm sure there are great stuff, but there's got to be a lot of challenges that come with that.
Yeah. I think that for me, I hear the stories of youth who are, coming to us for care and what they've experienced in their life. Those are heartbreaking stories. And I've done this for a long time, and I say this all the time. Every year, there's one or two that it's like, that's new. Haven't heard that one before, and those are the toughest parts. I think for us, one of the things that makes that I think a different experience is that we are coming to the table to try to intervene and help. But nonetheless, we have to read some really, really challenging things. And then one of the things that I think has always been very challenging is to read about an individual and know, really deep traumas that they've experienced, and then to see the kid, swinging on a swing and smiling. Kids are resilient, but I think as an adult, it's like, I know what that kid has been through, or seeing a child that what they've been through and they're broken. You can see it, you can sometimes feel it in their energy. And I think that that's hard. It's hard to know those things and to know there are children who have experienced more trauma in 6 years than I've even bared witness to. I mean, I've never experienced anything in my entire, life. And that's difficult. So it'll sometimes take your breath away. You just have to sit with it. And then I think, like I said, on the flip side, there's this army of people that work for us that are like, let's go, let's get in there with this kid and see if we can start to, impact and unlearn and relearn and teach and guide and care for and show them that they have a life ahead of them, right? And they can overcome these challenges. They will never leave them, but how to deal and cope with what they've experienced and show them a new way forward, hopefully.
Yeah, because it's not so much of, it definitely is a huge aspect of making sure that you're getting them into the right home, the right, sort of situation, the right people. But I like what you said it's definitely about relearning. And it is a huge, you are in the business of like reinstilling hope. Has not even, knowing exact situations that these kids come from. I can only imagine I go through something hard in life and, it sits with you and and as an adult, you're like thinking about it. You're, you go to therapy, you have all these different kind of avenues you're using to cope. But as a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, even a 16-year-old, that's a lot.
It is.
And then to go into a place, even as full as great people at Devereux, it's still hard for that person to accept this is help coming to them, accept that they're worthy of receiving this kind of attention and care. And I can only imagine like really the psychological healing that needs to come from that. Yeah.
And we use positive behavior interventions and support. So in all of our services. So really it's starting, like you said, this unlearning, relearning. It's really saying, for example, very simply, like doing things that are everyday things with, living, right? We start with, can you stand in a line, right? And wait to go to the cafeteria? Like you get a positive, token for that, right? And lots of praise, lots of, kind of, and rewiring that brain to, everything is not bad about me and what I do. Like I can I can do things. I can sit in a classroom. And if you sit in a classroom and you pay attention to the teacher, and even if you don't do it perfectly, but you did it like, we're gonna make sure that you did that well. Everyone has a strength, and what we do is we're searching for, we know that stuff is there. We're searching for all those strengths that someone has and really exposing that. Because if you come from a background where you've been maybe told all this negative, you believe it.
Yeah.
So, positive behavior intervention sports is like, we're going to kind of combat that with this positive piece. That doesn't mean that they're not going to make mistakes, but how we intervene in those, it's not about, you're a bad person or you did something. It's about, we have to teach you a different way and we have to do it repetitively, right? And you have to get that confidence and that esteem that, and so like, for example, on our campus, there are things that the youth learn, like you get onto we have a level system. And when you hit mastery, like people know you're on mastery and like, they're proud. Like, I'm now a leader on this campus. So, hey, we don't do that. Right. And those are moments that the staff are like, oh, this is great. Right. Because they remember that child that came in 4 or 5 months ago. And now that child is actually helping to kind of say, yeah, that's not going to work for you. You need to kind of get it together. So anyway, those are the kinds of things that we can help individuals kind of relearn, and not only about what's out there externally, because we do a lot of that, like understanding the external, how to interact externally, but the internal work with our clinicians and our psychiatrists and all of those folks that get in there, like you said, digging in. And those are very personal one-on-one conversations between youth and those that care for them. But, do they want it from their family members? Yes. And we work with them too. And we work with them too. Because that's it. Yeah.
Oh, that's something I hadn't even thought about. So typically when a minor comes in to the foster youth program, is it typically just that child that you're working with, or at times do they also come with like their family still very much detached and you're also doing that work with them?
Well, it depends on what service. So it can be a combination of those things. So all of the services that we provide, some of the services that youth are living with their families. So the families are involved. In foster care specifically, the goal of foster care is to get the child to go back home. The goal of all the services is, how do we get the child to go back home if there is a home for them to go through, or for them to find permanency, right? So them to be adopted, or to find a family member out there that can support and take them long term. So in the event that family member or that family system is intact, and again, the definition of family is something that is broad, right. Then we do everything we can to work with that family, because the family is just critical. And no matter what has happened, for the most part, a lot of what I've experienced over the years, kids, they want to go home. They want their families to be better. They want what they see, they know kind of what it's supposed to look like, right? Yeah. To some extent. And they want that. And so kids always have, I think, again, not all, but most have this element of hope that one day, as you and I would, right? We're going to get it together, and I'm going to get to kind of swing on that swing, and my mom's going to be pushing me, and I'm going to be with my brothers and sisters. Like, absolutely. And we know that's what kids want. That's what I want. That's what you want. And so whenever that's available for us, absolutely. Bring the families in. We work with them alongside their kids. And we also help families when we have individuals that are living with us and then they're going to go home, really prepare for that. We'll stay with them, with our behavior coaching program, with our, our outpatient services. We'll stay with them, to the best that we can to just continue the progress that we've made.
Is there a hard age that, because I'm thinking of it as like when someone ages out of the foster care system, is that when services stop, or how does that in terms of like with Devereux, how does that relationship continue?
Yeah, that's a great question. In our society, we have like this magic number 18, right? All of a sudden, you snap your fingers, you're an adult, which all of us that are over 18 know that's not the case. But that's not the case in foster care either. They can stay, they can voluntarily stay in foster care past 18. They can be supported, I believe they moved it to 24, where they will get they can get supports with independent living. They can have housing. They're, I think they can stay within their foster home for, a few years past 18. And that's available. Most kids don't pick that. They're ready. Like, they can't wait to turn 18. They are like most 18-year-olds, like, I'm on my own. I don't need to do this anymore. But there are a lot of supports out there, and we need more for transition age youth. We actually have a program called HYPE that really we work with the Phoenix Zoo. So we work actually at the Phoenix Zoo with transition age youth, and they are not living with us, but they're coming on an outpatient basis, and they work and they learn life skills, and they do groups, and they work with the animals, and it's a really amazing partnership we've had for a number of years. And then there's a lot of different outpatient services, but there's not enough. That's programs for transition age youth are in high demand, and I have transition age youth, that are in my family right now, and they need a lot of support still. It's this, especially now, it's really hard to navigate the world, and all of a sudden we turn 18 and we're expected to know how to do the doctor, and we're expected to know how to bank on our own, and we're expected to know how to sign contracts, and I remember my daughter when she turned 18, she's like, what do I sign? Do I sign this? And it's like, wow, yeah, there are a lot of things that we had to get comfortable with. Signing the first lease, like, all of a sudden your parents aren't signing it anymore. You're responsible for it. And so all of these things, there are supports for youth to try to help them navigate.
I definitely say at the age of 32, I still call my mom for stuff.
Exactly.
I'm still like, wait, what temperature do I put the oven to?
Exactly.
And things that she's definitely instilled in me, but I'm just like, panic.
Yeah.
I love that partnership that you have with the Phoenix Zoo, because, you hear it a lot of how therapeutic it is to work with animals, to work around animals. We know that information, but to give them that kind of experience, to do so, it reminds me, I used to work for PBS back up in Seattle, and one of the things that we did, we worked with this foster youth organization called the Mockingbird Society. And we joined them one day to go to the Capitol, where there was a couple of bills being passed that related to foster youth, and more so with the aging out of, a lot of them are expected, like we talked about, as soon as 18 hits, like, it's, you're on your own kind of thing. And, but to even think about it for some individuals, they're like, wow, how is it that that's considered me aging out, moving forward? But then when I'm living with a foster parent, I can't get them to sign. They're not legally allowed to sign my permission slips. Right. There's all these different catalysts, and it's hard. We're giving them sort of this pool of you're an adult, but you're not. Yeah, you're an adult, but you're not, kind of thing. And I can't imagine the internal sort of monologue that they go through. Having to deal with that.
And I think when you add on the layer of, you mentioned, like, you have your mom to call, for a lot of youth, a lot, when they turn 18, like, they're truly on their own. Truly. There is no one to call. And I think that what I love about so many of our foster parents is they're still there to call. And they will always be there to call. And they do get the calls. They get the calls. They have, former foster kids who come over still for Thanksgiving, that come for Christmas, I've gone into homes, back in the day, where the number of Christmas cards on the wall, and they're from former foster kid. You would just break down in tears. That's what foster those foster families do a long time. Like, talk about game changers in the lives of others, right? And really, it's about taking them into their family, and not that I'm saying it was all a bed of roses, but you made a difference. And I know that one of the things to tell people is, kids are listening, they are watching, they are also not always going to tell you, like, oh, thank you for that lesson, I got it, right? But you will know, when your child, there'll be a moment when you go, oh, you were listening to me, right? Oh, it did sink in. It's a question they may ask. It's like a pause of, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do that, where, it goes that way. So I think that foster families that have done this a long time, and even those that are working in residential treatment, like, we understand that this is not about us getting this reciprocity back in the moment. It's kind of like, I know kids are sponges. I know they're listening. I know I can't see it. Something's sticking, and I'm just going to keep on, we're just going to keep on working on it. And you start to see changes, and you do get those rewards that come back to you sometimes later, and sometimes they won't.
Yeah.
But, we know that it's worth it to keep trying with every single human that, kind of comes our way, and to do what we know that evidence-based practices tell us to do, and do it the best that we can, and hope for the best down the road for those that come to us for care.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to shift it just a little bit and talk more specifically about the partnership between Devereux and Ideas Collide. And I've only been here for a year, and so I think the time that I've been here, I've heard Suitcases of Hope more times than I can count of anything else. And I remember just saying, what is that? And of course, learning more and more about it. But how did that partnership first start?
Yeah. Well, it first started, and credit to Ideas Collide, because, we do tours for individuals that want to come out to, our campus, and because that's a place where you can actually visit, right? It's tangible. We can't go into people's homes per se, but there was a visit. Matt and Joel came out and did a tour, and they saw, I think, youth coming in with garbage bags, or they witnessed a youth with the garbage bags, which is not a Devereux thing. That's a system thing in every state, every county in the country, probably in the world. When a kid is being moved out of their home, oftentimes they don't have a great, away suitcase to put all their stuff in, right? Or a backpack or a bag, they are removed, or they don't just have the means, or it gets lost, whatever. So oftentimes when they come into care, whether it be foster care or anything else, they come with a garbage bag full of their stuff. And they saw that, and that really struck them. And that's where they're like, we want to do a suitcase campaign. We think that we can get some folks to contribute to this. So we worked together, and we, got Ideas Collide, started to collect suitcases, created stickers for the suitcases. So it originated with us collaborating, and what kinds of things could we put on these? What would the kids want? And worked with our teams to say, what are the messages they get that we can create these great stickers that they can personalize these suitcases when they get them, and kind of go on to their next phase of the journey. So we work together on things that we use in our DBT, language, and our PBIS language, which I just talked about, and worked with the kids and said, what would you want? So it's like, it's life's a journey, just things, different phrases that resonated. Yeah. And so we get collections of suitcases, Ideas Collide will call us up and say, we've got 50 suitcases, and we're like, great. And then when kids leave our care, they don't leave with a garbage bag. They leave with a suitcase, or 2 or 3, whatever they need. And it is, again, one of those heartwarming moments. And I've gotten to witness where I'm walking across the campus, a child is being discharged, and they're putting, their caseworkers putting their suitcases into the back of her trunk, not garbage bags. And that Suitcases of Hope. And you're leaving, you've done all this work. You're now moving, you're going in the right direction, and let's throw all your stuff in a garbage bag. That's not what we've been teaching. You have value, you have worth, you have esteem. And those suitcases, wherever you go, that's yours.
Yeah.
You pack your stuff in that suitcase, and you take that with you, and you make sure that goes with you wherever you go. So this collaboration is ensuring that those kids know their worth, and I don't want my stuff in a garbage bag. And we have given away hundreds of suitcases to kids, and they are all around the state, actually, with the suitcases, and they get to move around with those instead of moving around with garbage bags. So that's Suitcases of Hope.
Yeah, even just the visual, like you said, just going from what because I had seen that too when I was down with the Mockingbird Society, is people just, that's their whole life is in a trash bag.
Yep.
In a garbage bag, trash bag, however you want to like phrase it. But there is that notion like, this is not meant for my belongings. And it's crazy to I think for some people to see on the outside of what that means, of just having a suitcase in general, of what that instills. And we talk about hope, but really it is about their character. You're putting worth to them. And that is something that they've spent years or, however long it may be, really sort of dealing with themselves of, am I worth it? Why am I not with my family? There's a lot of questioning, and to give them something like this where they can be more mobile and just, it completely adds so much to how they view themselves.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about like your suitcase, what goes in it, it's the things that you value. You pick things to go in there. They're things that represent you. That's how you express who you are. What goes into a suitcase is kind of you,
Yeah,
in a sense.
It's you.
It's your stuff, it's uniquely you. And to put you in a trash bag, especially when you've done a lot of work, doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So, and then the flip side, we don't have, a ton of money to be, doing kind of those little extras. And so I think that it's amazing that Ideas Collide recognizes that and is just engaging with the community with this campaign and ensuring that kids that leave us don't leave that way. They leave with those suitcases. So we stack them up and they get them when they leave, which is a beautiful sight. Yeah, it's a beautiful sight.
Yeah, it really is. And this is just, I'm sure, one of the many partnerships and campaigns that you have with a number of other brands within the area. And having worked in nonprofit myself, and you basically your mission and the things that you get to do, it relies very heavily on partnerships and relies very heavily on the support of others. And from your perspective, how much of the impact that Devereux makes stems from the power of giving?
I think that when you look at impact, right, it's so meaningful for the community, not just for those we serve, but for the staff. It is so meaningful for us to have some community support. It feels like you're in this by yourself. Like we deal with things that people don't want to look at on a daily basis. We know that. And we understand that. But for partners like Ideas Collide to come forward and say, we see you, we want to help you, we want to support you in meaningful ways, it means the world for us, not just in financial support, which we need and we appreciate, but in things like, the Suitcases of Hope. That's like a really meaningful project that also helps us to, like, we're not alone. Like, people see us, they know what we're doing, and they're stepping up. So we have amazing financial partners out there. We have had a lot of really great foundations across Arizona that have really shown us that they see us, that they understand us, and they want to support us. And we have, folks like Ideas Collide that have really supported us in, like this campaign is just phenomenal. And, you all have made video, like just using what you do best and saying, we know how to do this. And we're like helping us to recruit foster families, to step up and say, let's sit down with you all and figure out how we can help you with things that we can't afford to go to a place like Ideas Collide and say, what's the best way to do this, this campaign? And you all have really stepped up and said, okay, that's something that we know how to do. That can help you all maybe find foster families. Oh, you want to work with youth in this way and send them a video message. Like, we'll create this video message for you to send to your youth. Like, just these amazing ways that are just really meaningful. And to say that you all stepped up to do that makes us all feel good and that we're not alone. So we rely on the community not only for financial support but moral support.
Yeah, and I love what you said about how people can use what they have, or just what they know to be able to take that step to support. So for those who are not brands or other organizations and are just like individuals, what are some of the ways that they can support Devereux.
Yeah. So Devereux is a qualifying charitable organization within the state of Arizona. So, I know we're speaking to our Arizona family here. And what that means is that for individuals who file their state taxes singly, they dollar for dollar get back $400. So they can give up to $400 to Devereux, and then they would get $400 back on their state taxes. So dollar for dollar. So that's an amazing way to give if you can kind of defer that for a little bit. And we're getting close to that season, so you don't have to wait as long, right? Mm-hmm. We're about to file our taxes in 3 to 6 months, depending on how quickly you respond to that. And then if you file jointly, it's $800. So you can give to Devereux. Go to our website, DevereuxArizona.org, DevereuxAZ.org, and DEVEREUX.org, and click donate, and you'll see the link to that. So you could give, again, $400 if you file your taxes singly, or $800 jointly. And when you put those through, you'll get it back. Either reduce your tax liability, or you may get a part of that refunded back. But it's a dollar for dollar state tax contribution. So that's a great way. That's the way I give a lot through that. And then also, obviously, we take donations at any time, cash donations, and we have a great department that kind of manages that for us.
What are, for those who either know someone or they might be interested, what are, I guess, the more general high overview qualifications that you look for when it comes to finding a foster
families? Yeah. Foster families, I think first and foremost, there's kind of the basic requirements. You have to be 21 and over. You have to pass a background check. You have to have, obviously a place that you can live and support an individual in care. We do therapeutic foster care, so we're actually looking for like professional type families. Mm-hmm. We are taking in individuals that have either typically been in the system for a while. It's a higher level of foster care. If you look at, there's kids who kind of come into the system maybe for the first time. And I think when people think about foster care, foster parents, they think about that level of foster parent, but there's also a foster parent that's kind of a level kind of above that, not in terms of their value, but in terms of the type of child that they would be getting. So it's a child that may have had more trauma, more difficulty, they may have been in multiple placements. This wouldn't be their first time. They likely have actually a lot of like appointments and challenges at school and need to get caught up on, physical health, behavioral health, and all those types of things. So that's a therapeutic foster family. And for that, we're looking for people that hopefully have some experience with kids, either have had kids of their own and have raised them, or have experience, like maybe they've been a teacher, maybe they've been a nurse, maybe they, again, a number of things, a childcare worker that really has had exposure to a lot of kids, or have, successfully, raised kids of their own. It could be someone in the healthcare profession, someone as a social worker like myself. So that's kind of the families that we look for. And we definitely need a lot of those. And
can they apply? Is there a form on the website for them?
Yeah, you can. Yep, you can go right to our website, the one that I mentioned before, and you'll find a really easy, it's very visible, foster care. And if you click through there, you'll find the forms, and you'll find contact information, more information about, therapeutic foster care, all of our services. But if you want to find out specifically about that, you'll learn about that. And then there'll be direct contact information, and, online forms you can fill out, and we'll call you back and start to engage with you. And if you're not ready today, that's okay. It's a process. If you've thought about it and you're like, I thought about it, but I'm not quite sure, like, please give us a call. We're patient. Mm-hmm. We know it's a process. We know that, we actually are pretty nervous if someone's like, yeah, I'm ready today. Let's go tomorrow. It's like, okay, we're going to slow that down a little bit. But, for the most part, I mean, again, when I was a recruiter, I was talking to people a number of times. Sometimes people would say, call me back in a year, or I'd say, call me back in a year. I'll keep in touch with you. And then I'd call back in a year, and they'd be like, oh, my kid's having some problems. Okay, I'll call you back in 6 months, and call back in 6 months. And they're like, I'm ready. And that's what we have to do. Like I said, you just got to keep panning for that gold over and over. And some of those families have been with us for 20 years, and that's the recruitment end. You have to keep doing it over and over and over and really engaging with people. And we have to get them at the exact right time for them, for us. And ultimately our job is to make sure that they are going to be a good fit for kids that come into their home. And we have an extensive matching process as well. So you as a family get to really be clear about what you're good at, what you're not comfortable with. Right. There are people that are like, girls, no. There are people that are like, boys, no, that's okay. There are people that are like, I don't want a child under the age of 10. I'm actually not that good with that age kid, but I'm awesome with adolescence, right? I like those teenage years. And so we're like, okay, that's the learning. There are some that are like, well, I'm really good with the 10-year-olds. It's like, okay, we have 10-year-olds. We can do that. Where do you get uncomfortable? 15 gets me, okay. So then we're getting those ranges down, and that's part of that matching process. Boys, girls, what kinds of trauma histories, some people, I can't have, I would struggle with a child that is used a lot of drugs, or because maybe they have that in their family. So we are doing this matching before we even put a kid in.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I need to know about you. And
I'm sure too, at some point, having those conversations with people, they could go into it saying like, I know I want a boy this age, etc. But I think your vetting system, at least like to help narrow that down, they're probably learning about themselves a little bit of like, oh no, that's a good point. I probably 100%. Didn't consider that, and we should, or whatever it is.
100%. And that's what I talked about. Like, we want people to, we're welcoming you in. Like, we're very much trying to welcome you in and find those ways. We're really like, where is that niche? Where do you fit? Right. And we want people to, think about, I didn't think about that. They're learning too about behaviors. Almost a crash course in, child welfare. You are going to have to engage with judges. You are going to have to engage with caseworkers. For our families that are professional, when I said professional families, you are going to be sitting at the table on behalf of this child, representing them in front of social workers, in front of psychologists, in front of psychiatrists. And for some people, it's like, I just want to tuck them in at bed at night, and we're like, yeah, no, it's a lot more. And that might be, okay, maybe I need to go this route, and we're fine. We'll get you to the right place. But there are some people that are like, oh no, I'm ready for this. Right. And so, it's just, once we get people through the door, then we are just kind of going to welcome them in, figure out how we find out where their strengths are, do what we do with the kids. What are you good at? What's your strengths? Where are you going to be that? Because we want the families to be successful. We want this to be a good experience. And it's not just the family that presents in front of us. We are caring about your kids. Mm-hmm. There are families that we said, your kids may be a little too young for this. And we're not just going to force it, right? Come back to us in a few years when they're a little bit more grown up a little bit. And that may be best for you and everybody else. And sometimes we're right where we need to be. So we want the families to be successful, and not just the individual in front of us, but the entire family. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. And definitely thank you so much for sharing this detail into this. I'm sure people listening either have absolutely no experience with this or really know the first thing about foster or youth or behavioral health and so forth. And so I thank you again so much for joining us.
No, thank you. This is great. And I love the opportunity to always talk about foster care and kids that need our help in our community. So appreciate the time.
Of course. And we always value this partnership. So thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you everyone for listening. And we'll catch you next time on another episode of Conversations Around the Table.